Meek deals. Base hit to right field. Here comes Richardson. Here's the throw from Markakis. Richardson is safe. Derek Jeter ends his final game with a walk-off single.
And it is a brisk Thursday evening here in the New York metro area. I am the voice of a generation, Pete Rosado. That is the self-made man, the Big Grizz. And we are back once again with the Dog Days of Baseball podcast, episode number 4. Grizz, before we get into it, how's your week been? Watch that Yankee sweep?
Yeah, man. Yeah, that Yankee sweep. How about it?
Back in first place.
Where we should be. No, week's been pretty good. Week's been pretty decent. Besides the past 2 days, but I'm not going to get too much into it. But week's been pretty good so far. How's your week going?
Yesterday was pretty. It was good and bad for you, but it started good.
It started good.
Season finale. You know, we'll get into that in other platforms. But man, if you are not watching X-Men '97, whoo, you are missing one of the best things on television right now.
Mm-hmm.
Besides, of course, a Yankee game. But speaking of our beloved New York Yankees, I got to talk about one of their rivals. I don't know if you remember this. Just this past Tuesday, Houston Astros pitcher Ronel Blanco was ejected from a game because the umpire found sticky stuff in his glove. Instead, in a statement, it was the stickiest substance he's ever seen. Well, today we got a ruling on that ejection. He's been suspended 10 games by Major League Baseball and fined an undisclosed amount. And the Astros have said that Ronel Blanco will not appeal the suspension. Third base umpire Laz Diaz ejected Blanco after checking his glove in the fourth inning, beginning of the fourth inning. The glove was confiscated, sent to the commissioner's office. According to Ronel Blanco and his manager for the Astros, Joe Espada, they said there was some rosin mixed with some sweat and some moisture and things like that. The Major League Baseball offices did not get into what the substance actually was. Ronel Blanco threw a no-hitter in his season debut, had allowed only 4 hits, struck out 1 in what was 3 scoreless innings at that point. The Astros were winning 1-0. Blanco 4-0 on the season with a 2.09 ERA, but Grizz, the Astros are at it again. The Astros cannot seem to keep their team name out of controversial stories. First, it was trash can banging, Stein stealing. Now it's foreign substances in the glove.
Yeah, it's not looking good for the Astros. And you know what? We go back to when they won the championship, and that was the sign stealing and the trash cans, basically. A lot of people are called for that championship to be removed. You know, it's tainted. We know it's tainted. It's a tainted championship. Now, whether or not, Yankee fans, diehard Yankee fans will argue with you whether or not that was supposed to be our year. I don't know. But as far as their controversy goes, I mean, it's you get to a point in baseball where it's just for a team to be so embroiled in controversy, it's like, what's next? How can you top the last thing that you did? And now we're seeing that with the whole, the rise-in and the whole everything that's in the glove. And now you start to question as a fan, well, how long has this been going on with this particular team? And now the next question is, who else is doing it?
Right. And listen, the only people I was happy for on that 2017 team, the only people I was happy for on that 2017 team, well, actually there's 3. Brian McCann, who spent a lot of years in Atlanta on some really, really good teams and just couldn't make it over the hump. I was happy that Brian McCann got a World Series ring. I was happy that, Francisco Liriano got a World Series ring. I mean, if you were not around to see how dominant Liriano was in the beginning of his career with the Twins, it was nasty. I mean, maybe not as dominant, but some people looking at him as kind of like the heir apparent to the Johan Santana era
I can see
in
that.
Minnesota before, elbow problems slowed him down. And lastly, I was ecstatic and over the moon that Carlos Beltran
Yeah.
got a ring.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I couldn't give a care less about, Justin Verlander or 37-year-old at the time, Cameron Maben.
Yeah, no.
Alex Bregman, especially the Jose Altuves and Carlos Correas of the world. It's the Dallas Keuchels.
Yeah, Dallas Keuchel. And you know what? Ever since that 2017 ring, it's just been like downhill for him after that.
Yeah.
It hasn't really been good for him.
But this it's tough because at this point in Houston, like, you don't want to be caught with anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, get as far away from it as you can. And I feel bad because, again, we're talking about the court of public opinion here, right? We're not going to know what this substance was on Blanco's glove.
Right.
It is very highly unlikely that the Major League Baseball investigative offices are going to come out and announce what it was.
Right.
So people are going to believe what it was. And then what's going to be worse for Blanco is when he comes back from the suspension, it's damn if you do, damn if you don't. Because if he wins that first game and he's dominant, people are like, oh, he's doing something. And then if he gets shelled and he has a terrible game, people are like, well, you see, he was only good because of the sticky stuff.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope at this point because, like you said, damned if you do, damned if you don't. I mean, right now the ERA is where you want it to be. Everything is where you want it to be, but now we're going to see after this 10-game suspension, like you said, what kind of pitcher are the Astros going to get after the 10 games? Are they going to get somebody who is still going to be a dominant pitcher, still somebody who is as dominant in their rotation? Or are you going to see a below or maybe an average pitcher when he comes back? Who's to say?
And this was a lot of question about even our own guy, Garrett Cole. There was a lot of talk about how when, MLB started limiting the type of sticky substances, because there was a level of, like, you could have a level of rosin in your bag, in your glove, I should say. You could cause a little bit of of stickiness on the ball to get a grip and things like that, especially in the winter when it's hard to grip a baseball. And for those of you who have never played baseball, trust me, as a former pitcher, it is very hard to get a grip on a baseball in the wintertime.
Extremely hard.
Especially when your hands are cold and your knuckles and your joints start to really kind of stiffen up. It's really hard to get the kind of finger movement you want on the baseball. Nevertheless, especially if you're an infielder or an outfielder and the ball's getting hit to you, it feels like you're trying to catch a stinging brick.
Yeah.
But it's tough, and it's sad enough that it's the I almost want it to be any other team. It's not the Astros.
Yeah, yeah, because it's like, again, a team. You hear the Astros, you get two different type of fans. You either get the fans that love them or the fans that hate them. And the fans that hate them love the fact that they're in controversy again, because it's like, see, they're getting desperate. They're not the best team right now in baseball.
Right.
They're very much below average. They're not where you would expect the Houston Astros to be. So now it's like, oh, look, desperation. They're trying to, find ways to win games now. And then the Houston Astros fans that love them are like, well, they really can't defend too much of what's going on in this controversy, because now it's like, oh, 2017 all over again.
It's always the woe is me Astros fans that get me. The woe is me Astros fans. And, it's, again, you have a lot of these pitchers, and this brings me back a lot of memories to, like, that's the steroid situations. When you heard about guys who were on steroids or used performance-enhancing drugs, or even there were rumors of performance-enhancing drugs, because black men don't cheat. Barry Bonds did not do steroids. you always get those people who are going to keep an eye on everything. Like,
Yeah.
oh, look at that. Oh, and we know like baseball is a sport of anomalies. You always have those anomalous years where it's like someone just goes off.
Yeah.
Someone has an incredible year as a pitcher. It's like they're unhittable for a year. Or this one hitter, it's just like for some reason cracked the code that year and just like contact through the roof, power through the roof. I still remember the year that Brady Anderson hit 50 home runs. Like, what in the world is Brady Anderson doing hitting 50 home runs?
Ridiculous. Definitely.
If you don't know what Brady Anderson is, go watch some old Orioles games.
Mm-hmm.
But it's tougher now because when you see somebody having an anomalous year, people are always thinking something. Something's got to be the reason behind the anomalous year.
Yeah, and I think us as fans have to, well, not us, but majority of fans have to stop looking for things because most of the major league teams, well, most of the major teams have been accused of this. The Yankees have been accused of sign stealing. The Astros have been accused of sign stealing. It's like every team cannot be accused of the same thing. It just can't. And I know a lot of people see the YouTube videos and, you hear stuff in the background. Look, this is the internet. You can modify things the way that you want to modify it at any given time. The only team that got caught doing this and they've came out and said it was the Astros. So, that's why I say Astro fans who love them really can't defend anything now with this whole controversy we have now with this 10-game suspension. So listen, let's just end that there. Let's end the whole everyone's sign stealing and no, unless you got the proof, let's just end it there.
Yeah. Now going from an umpire making a great call to something, I mean, like it has been I've been watching things on like my Instagram algorithm, my TikTok algorithm, just like are umpires trying to legitimately lose their jobs to robots? There was a lot of talk about umpires possibly losing their jobs to these automated strike zones, these robot strike zones, and everybody was up in arms about it. Oh my God, no, you need the human umpire. You don't want, you want to have that error, that room for error, that pitch that's on the outside corner that the pitcher perfects, that's framed perfectly in the outside corner. But there's that, that 1/8 of the ball is outside, but like, they call it a strike, or that 1/8 of the ball is outside and they call it a ball. No, we're not going to have that with the robot. It's either going to be a ball or a strike. It has to be perfect, and nothing is perfect. But now, Grizz, we got these umpires calling called strike, not swinging, called strikes. Ball 20 feet out the zone.
Yeah.
Grizz, tell us about this.
Oh man. All right. Where do we begin? First off, there's been a couple of games where you've had full-blown hitters sit there and be called for a whole strike, not even a strike, a ball, and not even swing the bat. Like they will, a check swing for those who don't know, but check swinging, and they've gone and it's ball. I don't know how. You've got pitchers throwing way outside the strike zone to the point where you have pitchers and umpires looking at each other because the pitcher is sitting there like, they knew they threw a ball. So this is my thing with the whole umpires and at least what's going on right now. I don't know if they're calling these games to throw the games away. I don't know if they're calling these calls to keep games close, or maybe they genuinely just can't see the plate or the strike zone. But it's getting out of hand. It's getting to a point where it's noticeably like horrible calls, noticeably horrible. Like the ball will be so far outside the strike zone, and you at home can sit there and see that this is clearly a cold strike or a cold ball. And these umpires are, I'd say give them probably about 2-3 years. These umpires are not going to be there anymore. The home plate umpires are not going to be there. You're probably still going to have a first base umpire. You're probably still going to have a second base and a third base umpire, but that home plate umpire is not going to be there. The league needs to look into this honestly, because you're throwing away games at this point. You know, the integrity of the game is being compromised because of these lenient calls. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of umpires who are, hitter friendly and also pitcher friendly, but the plays that have been shown are just egregious at this point. They're like way outside, and it should be no excuse for half of the calls that are getting called here. Even if Pete will tell you, I think there was during a Yankee game, I think Carlos Rodon might have been pitching, either Rodon or a relief pitcher might have been in, but there were pretty much a lot of, as a Yankee fan, a lot of strikes, a lot of balls being called strikes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what game that was. I think it might have been the Oriole game.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was Rodon on the mound. And it's tough because it's bad enough we have to deal with Angel Hernandez.
Right.
It's bad enough we got to deal with him. I still can't get over, I believe it was Angel Hernandez who cost Andres Galarraga that perfect game.
Yes, it was. It was Hernandez.
And, like, to me, in my mind, Galarraga pitched a perfect game.
Yeah. I have no arguments with that.
Like, that man, and, now we have to worry about, like, it's not – we're not talking about, bang, bang plays. We're not talking about, like – right there. We're not like, this is the separation between you and I right here. That we're not talking about a ball that's that much out the strike zone. Mm-hmm. Right? We're not talking about that. We're talking about a ball that's here.
You're talking at least 10 to 15 inches off the plate.
Right, that nobody but Alfonso Soriano would swing at.
Right.
But for those to be called strikes, and the worst part about it is it's not just the majors. I'm seeing things on Instagram, on TikTok, on social media, on Twitter, where it's college umpires, where it's minor league umpires making these egregious calls that are so – listen, as a professional wrestling commentator, you're always told you don't highlight errors. When things go wrong, when things happen, a wrestler goes for a move and they slip on the rope because it happens, or they slip on the rope. You don't go saying, "Oh, they slipped," or this. You don't do that. But when you've got professional sports commentators sitting in the booth calling the game, and everyone is sitting there saying, "That was a bad call." That was, or when you've got the worst one to me is the delayed calls.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So if you've seen those, if you haven't seen them, there's a couple of calls that I've seen. Ball 4 is thrown. Batter starts taking off the shin guard, whatever, go trot to first base. And it's about 10 seconds in, it was like Psyduck is the umpire. You get this delayed reaction because all of a sudden, wait, what? Everybody thought, like, there have been pitchers that have thought it was strike 3. That are walking off the mound and, oh no, it's called a ball. Or it should have been ball 4 and everybody thinks it's a ball and then they're getting punched out. It's like, it's getting to the point where it's, if we need to get the AI robot umpire in there, then do it.
Yeah.
Because I'd rather be upset because that ball that was perfectly crafted on the outside corner, that's an 1/8 of an inch outside the strike zone, gets called a strike or gets called a ball, regardless of what side I'm on. I'd rather that call. I'd rather be, that should have been a ball. And I'd rather be the one that's going online, looking at all the strike zone modules and stuff like that. And it shows like, oh, look at that. It was right there. It's like we've all played the show and stuff like that, and you put that picture, you put that pitch right there on that corner right there, and it's like half out the strike zone, half in, and they call it a ball. You're like, oh man, because it could have gone either way.
Yeah, I agree. You have to, I think at this point, especially where we are now in the season, I think at this point you have to really consider it for either for next season or the season after. You really have to consider it. Like I was saying, I think if they do actually go with the AI, I think you're still going to have a first base umpire because you have to look at the check swings. So you're still going to have a first base umpire, still going to have a second base, a third base umpire, but that home plate umpire is not going to be there. And I think that's when it comes down to it, especially with how technology is advancing, that there's definitely going to be an AI, and I definitely see that happening more for just pitching. I see that happening for more for calls. We're seeing it now with the NBA playoffs. Anybody's watching it, basically, they're having the coaches, not the coaches, the refs pretty much go to the tapes and everything. I know they kind of do that now with baseball as well, but I think baseball is going to be that first sport to actually have the AI where it's like they're checking for everything, not just pitching, but close calls, everything. And especially with the pitching now, I mean, we're seeing it now. Pitchers are developing more and more game every day. They're getting better and better as the years go by. And like you said, this it's not just, a slither off the plate, on the plate, in the strike zone. We're talking way outside to the point where the catcher is clearly moving on the
Yep.
outside. Because if anybody knows, anybody who's been a pitcher, in certain moments at an at bat, you're going to get a guy to chase. You're going to get a guy to chase because you're going to see what he's gonna swing at. So, of course, if you do like a high fastball, a high cutter, you're chasing. But we're talking about things so off the plate. It doesn't even make sense. Like I said, you at home can sit there and see this is way off the plate, still being called a strike, not even ball four. It's happened to a lot of people, and I'm pretty sure the players are frustrated as well because, like you said, you're seeing guys take the shin guards off, take everything off, throwing the bat, going to first base, and the next thing you know, getting called out, and you're like, it's
Yeah.
the delayed, it's the delayed thing. And what I don't like about it, and we're even seeing it again, NBA playoffs, we're seeing it there. If a call is made, a call is made. Let it stand. Don't let it be 10, 15 seconds later, and then you're like, no, it's a strike. Let's
Right.
keep some type of consistency.
And listen, I I'm the same guy who's going to sit here and say we need this kind of stuff, but also the same guy that hates analytics and hates the computer based behind it because I believe there should be a human error in these things. That's what makes these games so special. That's what makes sport so special. That human error, that the gut feeling. You know, I can't remember the last time someone talked about someone passing the eye test. Which growing up, that was the big thing. Like, do they pass the eye test? I see what I see. Right now, everybody's going by what the back of the baseball card looks like, and then getting mad when the person doesn't perform to the back of the baseball card. And honestly, listen, I don't know if this is already in place or not. Umpires need to be graded on calls. They need to be graded on calls. I think calls need to be reviewed. I think games need to be reviewed. We see this now with the NBA. They've got this, what is this, fourth quarter report that comes out after games where they talk about the calls that were made that shouldn't have been made and the calls that were not made that were missed that should have been called. I think Major League Baseball needs that at this point, right? How many of these check swing calls? Because listen, I still remember September. I still remember September last year. Okay, where Bryce Harper almost killed Angel Hernandez on that check swing call.
Yeah.
Okay, and at what point, if you're an umpire, do you get to when you get told by your governing body, hey, you can no longer call these games. You have missed so many calls. You have a success. If I strike out 65% of the time against a left-handed pitcher, you're not putting me in a clutch spot as a hitter to go hit against a left-handed pitcher
Mhm.
when you need to hit. So the same should apply to our umpires. If you're not getting calls right, if we're consistently seeing game reports where you are missing calls or where you are making egregiously wrong calls, you need to be benched.
Yeah, I think there needs to come down to that. I think there's and I could be wrong, but I feel like there's more leniency when it comes down to these umpires because we can refer back to when Aaron Boone got thrown out the game. Going back, even though that has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but it kind of does. You have these umpires who are biased, who either have problems with management, problems with the players, problems with whoever, and they make the calls that they make, and they do it out of you know bare feelings. They make it out of their feelings. But then you do have the umpires who are making these calls, and you kind of wonder, like, with all the stuff going on, the sports bettings of the world and things like that. That's something I think the league needs to look into as well, because you know somebody who has a lot of power to control whether or not this game is going to extra innings, or is this game going to be a blowout or a close one. Sports betting, I don't care what anyone says, sports betting definitely plays a part in everything, in every officiating, where it comes down to MLB, NBA, NFL, NHL. Everything comes down to that. And I think they have to look into that as well, especially when you have a team like Oakland getting ready to move to Vegas, which is, you know, sports betting capital of the world,
Listen, yeah,
and you're going to have umpires going there for 3 game 4 game sets, and you best believe they're going to be sports betting, best believe they will. But they have to do something. If it's being done, I'm not saying it's being done, if it's being done, that these umpires are betting on these games, or are throwing away these games, because the way that these calls have been looking, it almost makes you
right.
kind of wonder,
Where's the money?
right, where's the
And listen,
money?
this is a call to Bill Miller, right? This is a call to Bill Miller, the current president of the Major League Baseball Umpires Association. Like, you guys got to come up with something. You guys got to come up with something, because this is just not. It's just not working, and you don't want to be in the same vein as Hollywood, where a lot of these Hollywood writers and a lot of these Hollywood animators and talking about that, they're talking about losing their job to AI and to computers because of what's been done now. And listen, I am never in favor of anybody losing their job to a machine or losing their job to a computer. But if you can show me that the job will substantially be done better and more correct by said machine or said computer, then you get no argument from me. If it becomes like, oh, we're just going to have robot umpires because it's a cost cutting measure, and we're going to strip humans from their jobs
Yeah,
just to save a couple $1,000,000, no, go screw yourself. Spend $1,000,000, hire the human umpires.
right.
But if you're telling me that this robot umpire, this AI balls and strikes machine will have an accuracy of 90. Listen, and I don't need it to be perfect. If it can have an accuracy of 97%, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Because right now, some of these umpires don't look like they have a 50% accuracy.
Nah, they look like and these are tenured umpires, tenured, and
I can
it's
call balls and strikes better.
right. It's like they just pulled somebody off the street and just said, "Hey, you want to be an umpire? You
And the
want to
last
make
person to get pulled off the street and do something great in sports was Eddie. Okay, coach the
yeah,
Knicks to the playoffs.
yeah, yeah." So,
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, and to wrap up the umpire thing, let's see how it goes going forward, and especially with the playoffs. Everyone jockeying for position now, because we're pretty much almost in the middle of the season, jockeying for position for standings and playoff time, and even in the World Series. You don't want to see a call like that in the World Series. You don't want to see a pivotal call like that. No matter who's in it, whether it's a major team, small market team, no matter what. You don't want to see a call like that, because a call like that can pretty much make or break any game. And then not only can it make or break any game, we could be here a year from now talking about AI umpires, because of that one situation. So let's get it together.
It's a lot. We're gonna have to figure something out. But
Yeah,
Grizz, so far you're 0-2.
I'm on too. It's
So
bad.
far you are 0-2 in our trivia contest. Here we go. Let's go with this one. I'm gonna give you an easy one.
Okay.
Give you an easy, and you don't even have to get all 5.
Okay.
Okay, you don't even have to get all 5. There are only 5 players in the history of baseball that are part of Major League Baseball's 40-40 club. Only 5. 40 home runs, 40 stolen bases. Who are they?
40 home runs, 40 stolen bases. Let's see. All right. Let's go. Just because his name popped up, I'm going to say Albert Pujols. I'm probably going to go with that one. I'm thinking who stole a lot of bases? I feel like there's a Met in there somewhere. I feel like there's a Met, but I'm not confident in that. I feel confident in Albert Pujols. Let's go. Let's go Miguel Cabrera. Let's go Miguel Cabrera. I don't think Ichiro is there. No, I don't think Ichiro is there. I don't think Ken is there either. Ken has the home runs, but I don't think he has the stolen bases.
Okay.
I got two in mind. I don't know if those are. I feel confident about the Albert Pujols, but I don't know in Miguel. I feel kind of okay with those. I'm gonna try to at least get 3. Let me see. Third one. Wow. Let's go. You know what? I don't even feel confident saying that. You know what? I'm gonna go a current player. I'll go Altuve. I feel like Altuve is up there.
Okay. So
And,
you've got Pujols, Miguel Cabrera, Jose Altuve.
right. I want to throw a Met in there so bad, but I know it's not. There's not a Met in there. I know there's not a Met in there. Okay, I'm gonna go with those 3 for now. I think those are the only 3. I know there. I don't know if there's a Met in there. I doubt it, but I'll be so upset if there's a Met in there.
Okay, well, I will allay your fears here. There is no Met on the list.
Cool.
Not
good.
even anyone who played for the Mets.
Great.
So let's do this here. Fastball down the middle of the plate, right to you, Albert Pujols. Strike 1.
Okay.
Second pitch, fastball right down the middle of the plate. Miggy Cabrera. Strike 2 a little early on that one. And here we go. Curveball buckles you at the knees like Beltran in the championship series. Strike 3 for a Jose Altuve. Here are your 5 players. Actually, one of them just got in a couple years ago.
Okay.
I'll give you that one first. Ronald Acuna Jr.
Okay. I didn't even see. I was thinking current player too.
40-70, 40 home runs, 70 stolen bases. Okay. 40-70 for Acuna. And then before Acuna entered the club just a couple years ago, there were only 4 other players. And we'll start in descending order with 2 former Yankees. Alfonso Soriano.
Yeah, Wes Soriano. Okay.
Alex Rodriguez.
Okay, that one's a shocker.
Barry Bonds.
Okay.
And lastly, a man who played for the Yankees, but mostly known for his tenure on the Bay, Mr. Jose Canseco, one
I
half.
wouldn't have got Canseco. I wouldn't have got Canseco. Those Rodriguez shocks me, but you know what? I should have known that because I think most of his stolen bases came early in his career.
Yeah, a lot of those came during the Texas years.
Mhm.
Texas year, the power speed years in Texas and the late years in Seattle. Barry Bonds, same thing during his very late Pittsburgh, early San Francisco years. Canseco during his time with the A's, back when he was one half of the Bash brothers, with him and McGuire.
Mhm.
I remember Canseco was slim. Canseco was
Yeah,
super slim back in
yeah,
the day.
that's what I would have never guessed that.
Yeah, and then Soriano, of course, during his time with the New York Yankees, and Acuna, obviously, with the Atlanta Braves.
Yes.
So there you are, your 5 members, I should say, of the MLB
Mhm.
40-40 club. We're gonna go to some buy or sell.
Okay,
Grizz,
let's do it.
was thinking about this a couple days ago. Some buyers. So I'm going to give you some topics being talked about in Major League Baseball, and you're going to tell me if you're buying it or you're selling it.
Okay, let's do it.
Outside of their recent sweep at the hands of the Yankees, buy or sell, the Twins will come back to win the AL Central.
Right now, I'm buying it. AL Central right now. Tight race right now. If I'm not mistaken, because we are going to do power rankings very soon. Let's pull up the Central real quick. Central right now, you guys still got the Twins, the Royals, and the Guardians. It's tough, and the Tigers is right there with them. So definitely, I think the Twins have a more than decent team to be in the mix. So right now, I'm probably gonna go with the Twins. I don't see the Royals sitting there for too long, and I think Cleveland. It's gonna be between Cleveland and Minnesota. So I definitely would buy that for sure.
All right. Uh, I'm going to sell it.
Okay.
I don't think the Twins will make it all the way up. I mean, I could be wrong here, but I actually think that, when you're looking at the NL Central, the Guardians have found a way. The AL Central, the Guardians have found a way to stay relevant, even with all the injuries that they've had.
It's true.
They have one of the best run differentials in baseball. I believe they have the 5th best run differential, tied for 5th, and only 1 run behind 4th place. And Kansas, I don't know where Kansas City's getting it, honestly.
I don't know either.
I didn't know Kansas City was this good.
No idea.
But I'm going to sell it. I'm going to sell the Twins winning the AL Central. Here's one for you. Buy or sell. Let's stay on the theme of winning, but let's go to a different division. Buy or sell, the Phillies will win the NL East.
Ooh, that's tough. Let's pull up the East right now. You know what? This might be controversial. It might not be controversial, but I think I'm gonna sell it. I think I'm gonna sell it only for this one particular reason here. I feel like the Mets have they've gone off. I think I think you said on the last show that you had high hopes for the Mets as far as at least getting into the wild card, and it doesn't look like right now. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. The Braves are right there. They're 26-14 right now. I think the Braves, if they make the right trade, I really feel like they can get back in those standings. I mean, the Phillies are kind of like Miami, the Miami Heat of baseball, right? No matter where they are, as long as they have a shot, they can get in. So, but do I see them winning the NL East? I don't know. I'm not completely sold. They're playing great ball. They're playing amazing ball right now. They're sitting at what 33-13.
Yep, first place over the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, they're first place over the Atlanta Braves, but I'm gonna sell it. And even if they do win, I still see a collapse happening. So I don't think they really have. Um, I'm not gonna say the pitching because the pitching has been very good for them. I don't know how long the hitting is going to keep up for them.
All
I think
right.
that's where I'm at with that.
I'm going to sell it. I just don't think that the Phillies are going to be able to hold off the Braves. I
Yeah.
think the Braves will end up in first place. Phillies will end up in second. I think it's going to be a tight race all year. I
Hmm.
really think it's going to be a tight race. And again, the Braves are just not clicking on all cylinders.
Right.
There's been a lot that the Braves are not, and then losing Spencer Strider is going to be a major issue. Again, I could be wrong. I think that the Phillies right now don't have any major injuries, so the Phillies can probably ride this out better. But then again, we got the trade deadline coming up. So will Atlanta make a move to possibly, waylay the loss of Strider and push them into and again, if Atlanta's offense puts it together, they're probably, in my opinion, top 5 most dangerous offense in Major League Baseball.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I see nothing wrong with that. And like you said, it's kind of reminiscent to how the Yankees were. Well, we had certain players that couldn't get it together. Aaron Judge couldn't get it together, and recently, now we're sitting at 30 wins. I'm pretty sure we'll talk about the Yankees coming up soon, but yeah, I agree with you. I think it's going to be a tight race. It's going to be interesting to see that NL East and the rest of everybody else is going to follow from 3 down to down to the bottom, but 1 and 2 is going to be very tight. I can see both teams winning close to 100 or at 100 games tied. So we'll see what happens.
Buy or sell, Blue Jays will finish last in the AL East.
Yeah. I'm can I just say that I'm very disappointed with the American League East. Um I right now they are sitting at last place, and I'm gonna buy that. I don't think they're as good as they thought they were going to be coming out of spring training. Um, it kind of feels like the Blue Jays are only just one player. You know what I mean? And I could be wrong with that, but it just feels like it's Vlad and everyone else. Don't get me wrong. You still got some more than decent hitters on that squad, but it's something about the Blue Jays. Usually, at least to a Yankee fan, you hear Blue Jays and it's like, oh, okay. It's one of those games that we look forward to. But now it's not looking like that. They're not looking like the team that I would respect. They're not even playing 500 ball right now. They're 19 and 23. They're 9 and 9 at home, 10 and 14 away. I just Yeah, I really feel like the Blue Jays, unless some other team collapses, whether it's the Rays who are playing 500 right now, or Boston who's playing above 500, they're playing 512. If one of those teams collapse, I mean, sure, but any one of these 3 teams can finish last. But I really feel like it's going to be the Blue Jays for sure.
I'm going to buy this. And the reason why I'm going to buy it is because I think they might sell some pieces.
Yeah, I think it's a rebuild era for them.
Could Vlad be on the move? Could Kavan Biggio be on the move? Could Bo Bichette be on the move?
Bo Bichette's been on there for a very long time, so I think he might be on the move for sure.
Right. And then you've got guys that still have some value, and a guy like George Springer, Justin Turner can get you something, right?
Mhm.
So, and then you've got some good pitchers in, Chris Bassett, who could probably get you something to a playoff team. Alex Manoah is on his way back, but you look at these, they have quality name players.
Right.
And if they really want to maintain competitiveness, they're going to sell off some of these players, I think, at the trade deadline, especially if they're still in last place, which I think is only going to perpetuate them continuing to be in last place. But other teams may be able to gain something from the Blue Jays. They have a lot of quality young players, even in just the three, Biggio, Bichette, and Guerrero. And if any one of those three moves, even if two of them move, I think we could see a seismic shift. And we've already seen some of the bigger teams, and we're going to talk about one in one of our last buy and sell topics, that got somebody that might be of some substance, but a lot of the big name teams don't have a lot of spots left. So you've got teams like the Yankees who might be able to fit in a guy like, a Vlad who might listen. If you could tell me I get Vlad Guerrero Jr. and find a way to dump Giancarlo Stanton, I will do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is how I feel about the Blue Jays, and I agree with you. I think it's one of those things where, um, it's kind of early. It's weird to say it's early, but it's early to say let's blow up a team in the MLB at this point. But when you're playing less than 500 and you expect it to be hanging around with, the Yankees of the world and the Baltimore Orioles, and you were we expected Boston to be, at the bottom right now. We didn't even expect the Blue Jays to be where they are either. But now you're on the outside looking in. I think at trade deadline, you do become, sellers here. You try to get off who you can get off, whether it's a George Springer, whether it's a Justin Turner. I don't think Vladdy's going to be on the move, but I mean, you could dangle that in front of somebody to say, hey, let's see what pieces are we going to get back? Are we going to get something for our farm system? Are we going to get, quality players that we can put on the field right away? But I think that if anybody moves, it's probably going to be Springer. It's probably going to be Bo Bichette. Um, I think Kirk is another player that might move. There's a lot of guys that have had 10-year time. And then you got a guy also that you could put in a trade package with the Daniel Vogelback if he's not on the if I think he's on the major league roster. You got a guy like Daniel Vogelback who showed his worth with the Mets. So, there's still value with him as far as the DH goes. There's plenty of things that you can do as far as the Blue Jays. So if they were to blow up this team mid-season and just say, let's see what we can get back, I do believe that, again, like you said, a cosmic shift can happen depending on what they do get back, whether it's pitching, whether it's, you get core young players. I mean, look at Baltimore. Baltimore has young players right now, and they're hanging in there with the Yankees. So let if I'm the Blue Jays, I'd say sell as much as you can. But if anything, I don't think Guerrero's on that trading block.
All right, let's go away from the standings and into some team-based buy or sell. Here's one for you. The Seattle Mariners rotation is the best in baseball. Buy or sell?
You know what? I'm going to buy it. I think right now, Seattle, that's what's keeping them in games. I think we mentioned that on the last show. That's what's keeping Seattle in games. Their ERA as a team is just among the best. I think it's them and Boston.
They have the lowest ERA in baseball for the last month.
So they got the lowest. Yeah. I'm definitely buying that. I'm definitely buying it. I like what I'm seeing from Seattle, especially from their rotation. And to be honest with you, they're sitting at 24-20, and in that division, that's really unexpected. It's unexpected for Seattle to sit there. The defending champs are 23-22, and then Oakland, Houston, and the Angels. Everybody else just kind of follows behind in the West, in the AL West standings. But you see Seattle, and you look at everything, especially their roster right now, which I'm pulling up. You've got hold on. You've got
from the Sunshine State.
Yeah, you've got their pitchers, hitting on pitching on all cylinders, should I say? Not really hitting, but pitching on all cylinders right now. And you've got Bryce Miller, who's sitting at a 2.66 ERA, who's at the
Yep.
top, who's at the top of their, their best.
Kirby,
Luis
45
Castro.
strikeouts to 5 walks.
Yeah. Yeah. Luis Castro with 4 wins, 64 strikeouts. You got Menunos with 7 saves. I mean,
Logan Gilbert, top 5 in ERA in the majors, 1.69 ERA.
yeah. Yeah.
And Bryce Miller, by the way, you mentioned Bryce Miller. Up until this past Sunday, he got hit for 4 runs in 6 innings. But up until this past Sunday, Mariners pitchers had gone 21 games, allowing for only 2 earned runs or fewer.
Yeah. And, I think I know a lot of people feel like, oh, it's hitting and, you got to keep everyone in with the hitting and everybody wants to see the big home runs, but pitching is where it's at. Houston still has a good rotation of pitchers. The thing with Houston, and just to answer that, thank you, Randy. I know you're sending that comment on vacation right now. I hope you're enjoying yourself. Houston's rotation isn't a bad rotation. I just think that Houston, they're trying to find themselves post Dusty Baker, right? They don't know how to function post Dusty Baker. Dusty Baker has sat there and coached this team to playoff wins, playoff appearances, World Series appearances. Now you have to find your identity with a new manager, a new skipper, and you have to fit into their coaching style, which is why we're seeing Houston the way they are now. So, yes, I wouldn't say they're among the best, but they're not the worst either. But Seattle's rotation right now, it doesn't matter if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, and it doesn't matter how many games that you're playing against them. You're going up against quality pitchers every night with Seattle. And look, you got George Kirby, Luis Castro, Logan Gilbert, Bryce Miller. These are guys you don't want to see on the mound as a hitter. You don't want to see them right now on the mound. But again,
the Astros team, listen, Framber Valdez is not what he was last year.
No, he's
Framber
not.
Valdez last year was a beast. Verlander's going to be Verlander. He's going to be great. We rocked him, and people are going to be able to rock him. But Verlander's Verlander. You know what you're going to get out of Verlander. I think with a lot of these Seattle pitchers, you don't know what you're getting.
You don't know, and
you don't know what you're getting. Who would have talked about guys like? And again, Brian Wu hasn't even truly been a part of this rotation yet.
Yeah, that's the scary thing about it.
And, good.
It's just looking like right now they're the team to beat in the AL West right now. And we're still looking for the champs to kind of click. I think the champs will bounce back, but it'll be interesting. That was another one to keep your eye on with that 1 and 2, because I think it's only just them in that division. I don't think it's anyone else.
Going from the AL West to the NL West, buy or sell, Luis Arraez makes the Padres a playoff team.
I'm going to sell that. I think the Padres need more. I think they're trending in the right direction. They definitely developing a good rotation. I think they're finally developing a all-around team, because when they were Slam Diego, when they had Soto and Machado and everyone else, they were fun to watch. It was nice to get the home runs, like I just said earlier. You need more than just the big plays. You need the guys that can come in there and pitch shutdown innings. You need the relievers that can come in there and give you guys a shot when it's 2-1 in the 6th or 2-1 in the 7th. So for right now, as of right now, I'm gonna sell. But if you ask me this, maybe in another a year or two, will the Padres be a playoff team? Absolutely. I feel like they are maybe 1 or 2 big moves away from being that playoff team. We might even see it now. I might retract my statement in another 2 weeks or so.
Well, here's the thing. I'm actually going to buy this. Luis Perez was the best, if not one of the best hitters in all of baseball last year from an average point of view. I mean, I can't tell you how many FanDuel bets I won on just that man getting 2 or more hits in a game, or putting him on a hit ticket, on a parlay hit ticket. And I always knew that Perez was going to come through. And I think that consistency in that lineup is going to be key. Again, this is still a team that has Fernando Tatis Jr., that has Manny Machado, that has Jurickson Profar, that has Xander Bogaerts. Okay, they have decent pieces. They have a decent rotation with Darvish and King and Cease. Okay, Musgrove is on the IL, right? But you have a decent team. I think they could be. Listen, I don't think they're going to win the NL West. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here saying that San Diego's all of a sudden going to become the dark horse to win the NL West. But what I will say is I can definitely see them being a team in second place in the NL West. And if the Arizona Diamondbacks proved anything last year, is that being in second place and sneaking into the playoffs can take you a long way.
Yeah, and right now they are sitting in second place right now at 22 and 24. And of course, the big bad Dodgers sitting at first place.
Right.
The Diamondbacks are right there on their heels as well, sitting at 21 and 23, and then the Giants and the Rockies. I think that's one of the teams I'm kind of surprised about is San Francisco. Especially with a lot of hype behind them. You would have thought San Francisco would be the team that we're talking about that might have sneaked into the playoffs, but now we're sitting here talking about the Padres. The only reason why I'm selling this is because I feel like the Padres again are probably another move or two away, and I definitely can get on board with that. I'm like 50-50 right now, but like I said, when trade deadline comes, I could be sitting here another 2 weeks from now when we give you episode 5, and I have to publicly apologize because we don't know what type of moves are going to be done just yet. But who knows? If the Padres do sneak in and get to the playoffs, it'll show one of two things. One, they survived without Juan Soto, which a lot of people felt like they weren't.
Yep.
And two, this will probably be, if they get into the playoffs, this will probably be one of the best rotations you don't want to see in the NL.
Right. And right now they're third in the wild card, right? I know it's super early to be talking words wild card,
right?
But the reason why we talk about a playoff, people are like, well, they're in second place. What are they talking about? Playoff team. Atlanta and Chicago are the top 2 teams right now in terms of wild cards. So it's your 3 division winners, right? Atlanta, Chicago, right? You still got the Diamondbacks in the chase. You still got the Nationals in the chase. The Mets are actually only a game out, right, when you really think about it. So you have a chance.
Right.
You still have a chance here. All right, I got to ask you one last buy or sell, and you're going to hate me.
Okay.
Buy or sell. Aaron Judge will not be top 3 in this MVP race.
So, I alluded to this, and this has not been his best season so far. But I think that coming into this season, I kind of expected it.
And mind you, I wrote this before the series against the Twins. I wrote this topic down. He had a pretty decent series against the Twins, looking like old Aaron Judge.
No, 4 for 4 isn't bad, just saying. But I think but you know what? I'm gonna sell it, and I'm gonna sell it for this reason. And this is a positive and a negative. Negative because this has not been Aaron Judge's best season so far. At one point in time, he was hitting under 200, and an average MLB player is hitting 250 at least. So you had that going on. He looked like the Aaron Judge of what most people say. Aaron Judge can't hit a breaking ball. He swings at everything. He's not seeing the plate. And to be honest with you, I will agree with some of those statements. Not the breaking ball one, but definitely he wasn't seeing the plate well. He was getting himself into double play bang bang plays. He was getting himself into flyouts. It just didn't look good. Runnings in scoring position, he was striking out. It just did not look good. Now, that's the negative. The positive about this is this is the reason why the Yankees went out and got Juan Soto. Because everything does not fall on Aaron Judge at the end of the day. Yes, you want your captain to be hitting decent. We want him to be hitting more than decent. But now, this is the reason why we have Juan Soto, who is looking like the runaway for it's just him and Mookie Betts at this point right now for an MVP race in their respective divisions. I mean, you can argue there's other people you can put in there, but as far as the American League goes, it's Juan Soto's to lose at this point. It's getting to a point where Yankee fans can take a breather that they're working on a Juan Soto contract midseason now. So
at least they're open. He's open to it.
And he's open to it. Where now Hal has reached out and said, hey, let's get this done because they see the potential that Juan Soto has. So now, as far as going back to Aaron Judge, as far as the positive goes, when Aaron Judge is not playing well, you have that X factor of Juan Soto, who is stepping up in, runners in scoring position. He just actually hit a milestone for the most walks before the age of 25 or 30 or one of those. But you're not. It's just not your year. And I think that's something that going back to early on when we were talking, like you said, there's down periods for every player and there's an upside to every player. We saw Aaron Judge break the home run record last season, or 2 seasons ago. We saw him do that. We saw him have one of the best, clear AL MVP seasons, clear as day. Now we're starting to see a down period where it's like, okay, it's just not working for you. So no, I'm gonna sell Aaron Judge not being a top 3, and it's sad to say because Aaron Judge is one of my favorite players.
Wait, you think he will be top 3?
No, I don't think he'll be top 3.
So you're buying?
I'm buying. Okay, so yeah, I'm buying it. Yeah, I'm buying that.
Well, I believe right now he is 5th in the voting. In Vegas right now, behind guys like Kyle Tucker, the right fielder for the Astros, hitting 284 with 13 home runs, 29 RBIs. Behind Bobby Witt Jr., the 23-year-old Wunderkid shortstop for Kansas City, who in his 3rd season is hitting 293, 5 home runs, 23 RBIs. Already has 15 stolen bases, 11 doubles, 5 triples. Gentleman by the name of Gunnar Henderson, the shortstop for the Baltimore Orioles, who's hitting 259 with 12 home runs, 27 RBIs, 4 doubles, 3 triples, slugging 543. And, of course, behind his teammate, Juan Soto.
Yeah, I think as far as everything progresses, it's Juan Soto and Gunnar Henderson. And you can make the argument for either guy. And no disrespect to anyone else that's on that list, but honestly, when you look at these guys, you don't want to see Juan Soto in the box. You don't want to see Gunnar Henderson in the box. Gunnar Henderson absolutely torched us in that Baltimore series. So, I mean, you could make an argument for either guy, Juan Soto or Gunnar Henderson. It's just, I think it comes down to who's more valuable to the team. And I think at this point, right now, if you ask me, and it's no bias whatsoever, I think Juan Soto is more valuable right now than Gunnar Henderson, but it's this much of a slither.
And the sad part about it is I don't want that to be true.
Yeah.
I don't want that to be true because it's only going to drive the price up because you know how Scott Boras is going to spin that.
Yep.
Juan Soto's the reason why the Yankees are successful this year. Juan Soto's the reason why they are where they are if they make the playoffs. And
Yep.
Aaron Judge is a bad year, but Juan Soto has a great year. It's only going to drive that price up. Sentimentally, don't get me wrong, sentimentally from a baseball standpoint, I kind of want it to be Bobby Witt Jr.
Yeah.
He would be the first Royal since George Brett in 1985 to win the MVP.
That is a great story if that does happen. That's a feel-good story. And especially with how they're playing right now.
Also, let's not talk about George Brett. In the year he won the MVP, he hit 390. Okay. And he played 117 games and had 118 RBIs. The man averaged an RBI a game. Like, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
It would be a feel-good story, especially where Kansas City is right now, which nobody expected. So it would be a feel-good story. I'd like to see it, have the young guy win it, third season in, AL MVP. But it's tough when you got Juan Soto and Gunnar Henderson ahead of you who are doing amazing things as well.
This is very true. Let's go to our last topic of the night. State of Major League Baseball. Let's look at these standings real quick right now.
Let's pull them up.
We are in the middle of the month of May. AL East, Yankees in first place by a game over the Baltimore Orioles. Baltimore Orioles at 27-14. The Yankees on an 8-2 streak in their last 10. Baltimore 7-3. The Red Sox have slipped a bit, but in third place, 7 games out of the lead. A game over 500, 22-21, 4-6 in their last 10. Tampa and Toronto leading out the American League East. The American League Central, you've got the Guardians in first place by a game and a half over the aforementioned Royals. The Minnesota Twins only a game out of second, 2.5 out of first. Minnesota at 24-19. Detroit, oh man, we'll talk about them in a couple of minutes. Detroit has slipped massively from their early season success. A game under 500, 21-22, 3-7 in their last 10. And the Chicago White Sox, 14-30 in last place in the Central. The AL West, Seattle Mariners leading that division by a game and a half over the Texas Rangers, the defending champions, were 23-22. The Oakland Athletics in third, Astros in fourth, and the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim in last place. Worst team in the AL happens to be the Chicago White Sox. Before we move on to the NL, Grizz, what's your take on the state of the American League on May 16th?
Well, I think, let's see the shockers. Like, we're not going to talk about the obvious. We're not going to talk about the Yankees and the Orioles. We expected that. Boston slipping, I didn't think they would, but for the most part, for the East, it's really the Rays, the Sox, the Orioles. They're all in the mix, right now, and anybody can make a jump at this point. So the AL East is very interesting. I mean, the only team that's really not, you're really not looking forward to is the Blue Jays. Going to the Central again, everyone in the mix right now. The Tigers slipping down was a shock, which, again, we're going to talk about that as well. But then you have, the Twins and the Royals, who a team that we didn't even give a shot to, now sitting at second place, so that's another team. I expect that to change when we go into June. I expect that to change, but we'll see what happens. And as far as the American League West, again, it's the champs and the Mariners right now. At this point, who do you like better? Who do you see, at the end of, July, August, when we get to the meat and bones of the season, who's going to be at the top? And I feel like the champs are going to be there eventually, but Seattle is going to be right there knocking on their door. So right now, the AL, very interesting to see where everyone's at. And of course, being biased, the Yankees being the first ones at 30 wins. I mean, I'm pretty giddy about that as well. So AL's looking pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we saw a lot of early season. We talked about this very early on. The anomalies of the Major League Baseball season. We saw Boston's pitching just carrying them. In fact, Boston right now losing 5-4 to the Tampa Bay Rays. Why? Because their starting pitcher gave up 5 runs on 4 hits in 3 2/3 innings. So you got to wonder how long before that no-name patchwork Boston pitching squad was able to keep it together, and that's the same thing that we're seeing in Detroit.
Yeah,
I mean, in Detroit, it's Tariq Skubal, and that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
And I think Skubal might, should be in the conversation for, AL Cy Young, but
absolutely.
The problem is, yep.
No, I was saying absolutely. I was agreeing there with you.
Oh, yeah, he's really been holding the Tigers together. My thing with the American League right now is that Central, in and of itself, is such a wild card to me. I don't know what to expect out of that Central, and if I'm any team that has to play anybody in the Central, I'm a little worried right now. When we get to the end of the season, whether it's the Royals, whether it is, by some chance, the Cleveland Guardians still there, or if the Minnesota Twins do put it together, I'm going to be scared to face either one of those 3 teams because the fact that they've been able to build something out of nothing, no one's paying attention to the AL Central. Not a single person is paying attention unless you live in one of those markets. No one's paying attention, and especially to the Cleveland Guardians once they lost their pitching staff.
Right.
The fact that they're still in first place and holding it together, says a lot about what Cleveland's able to do and how well they're coached.
Yeah, I think, and I think we alluded to it also with Cleveland. The batting, the hitting for them is what keeps them in games. I think they just shouts out to Jalen Brunson. They find a way. They find a way to keep themselves. Right. They keep themselves in these close games because most of the games that Cleveland has been in have been pretty close for the most part. I haven't seen, too many blowouts. I haven't seen too many shutouts from Cleveland as far as their season has gone so far. They've been pretty close games, and what keeps them in games, especially when in our series, what kept them in games were the hitting. Granted, I can only speak on the Yankee series. Granted, our relief pitching has been a problem all season. I think now we're starting to get it together as far as the relief pitching goes. But for the most part, Cleveland's hitting 1 through 9. They find a way. They find a way to get on base. They find a way to it's the next man up mentality that's keeping Cleveland in number 1 in that Central Division. Now,
right.
Is it going to be the case? Like I said, is it going to be the case when, July and August come around? Because I'm going to be honest with you, I have to start watching Royals games because I need to see if the Royals are for real. I have to see this for sure. Are they, are they a young team? Are they a team that's going to hang in there with, a Cleveland or a, when they do play Minnesota, is this a team that's going to hang in there? Because if you can beat the people in your division, you pretty much can win it.
Yeah. Let's talk about the National League now. Going into that National League West right now, the Mets and the Philadelphia Phillies locked in a battle. The Mets were up 2-0. Phillies went up 3-2. Mets now up 4-3 in the bottom of the 8th. Against the division-leading Phillies. But it is the Phillies in first place, 31-13, with the second-best run differential in baseball at plus 72. 8 in their last 10. Atlanta, 3 games out of first. The Nationals, then a 7 games out of second. 10 games out of first is Washington. The Mets, and then Miami. That Central Division, Milwaukee still holding on, but a game and a half behind them, the Chicago Cubs, followed by the Pittsburgh Pirates, St. Louis Cardinals, and the Cincinnati Reds, all 3 under 500. And finally, in that NL West, the number 1 team with the number 1 run differential in baseball. The LA Dodgers, 29-16, followed by San Diego Padres, Arizona Diamondbacks, technically tied when you really think about it statistically. Both of them 7.5 games out of first place.
Mhm.
Then San Francisco and Colorado at rounding out that NL West. So what do you think? The NL West where it should be, or should we be looking for something else?
Yeah, I think the NL West is right where it should be. I said it earlier. I think San Francisco, and when we get to later on in the season, and we talk about teams who have pretty much know where teams are. I think San Francisco is going to be one of those teams that we're going to be talking about as a disappointment. There was a lot of hype behind San Francisco.
Well, it is an even numbered year.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. Yeah. So this is not a season for them. Maybe we could do this in 2025. We'll be talking something different, or even 2027. But
Somebody call Buster Posey, Tim Lincecum.
yeah. So this has been a disappointing season for them. The Dodgers are right where we expected them to be. I mean, they went out and spent the most money this offseason in the winter. They went out and spent the most money. You got Mookie Betts, who is looking like the runaway NL MVP right now.
What? No Shohei Ohtani?
No Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani actually has taken a back seat, and I think that's that comes down to a lot of veteran leadership. I think that's what it comes down to. They're looking great so far. They're looking like the team that we expected them to look like. So you got that. The Padres, we just talked about the Padres. I think they're still a piece or two away from hanging in there with the Dodgers. They're hanging in there right now, but I think they'll make a stronger case if they get another big bat, another utility hitter. Now, I wouldn't say, a home run hitter, a utility hitter, and maybe a closer. If they get that, I think they're right there in there with the Dodgers. The Diamondbacks, again, that Miami Heat mentality. It doesn't matter where we are. We're gonna grind it out. We're gonna be real gritty. We're gonna get to where we have to be. But I still think it's gonna be coming down to the Dodgers, and it's gonna be coming down to the Padres in that division.
And when you think about that division, it's really a battle for second place at this point. Both the Padres and the Diamondbacks are 7.5 games out of first. The San Francisco Giants are only 9 games out. So technically, the Giants are only a game and a half out of second place.
Yeah. Yeah, if you really look at it statistically, that's basically what the numbers are looking like.
And that's saying, especially when they're 5 games under 500, which also talks to you about the state of that division. The Dodgers really the only team over 500 in that division. San Diego's 2 games under. The Diamondbacks are 2 games under. San Francisco's 5 games under.
Yeah, I'm still gonna go with I'm still probably going to go with those 2 teams being there, but if they're in them, I think you'll get the Diamondbacks in the mix eventually. I think this will be a different conversation come July.
I want to talk about the NL Central real quick, because a lot like the AL Central, a lot not being talked about with the NL Central, which what the Cubs have been able to do, putting that team together from the injured list and beyond. I mean, talk about getting people off the street. Shota Imanaga being one of the best imports this season. Yamamoto, who? And the Milwaukee Brewers did they resurrect the steroid spirit of Ryan Braun and Prince Fielder? What happened?
Yeah, I
vegan Prince Fielder and steroid Ryan Braun.
I think I picked the Brewers as my sleeper team this year, and they're proving me right so far. They had a couple of series where it wasn't really looking too good for them, but then they, played the Cardinals. They played, they've played the Pirates, which the Pirates fell off bad. I didn't expect the Pirates to be there. I thought they were actually going to be something, and they ended up not even being in this conversation at all. You know,
I mean,
I
they still
see.
are in third place, but they're 7.5 games out of first,
Yeah,
6 games out of second.
yeah. I'm really gonna. I think this is for the Brewers to lose at this point. They won their series against the Rays. The one against the Cubs. Oof, that was a major hit right there. They only took one game from the Cubs. And then you got the Royals, who they also lost that series to the Royals, but then bounced back against the Cardinals and the Pirates recently. And now they're going into a series with the Astros, which they should. They have a favorable schedule so far. Astros, Marlins, Boston, and then going into Memorial Day, you got the Cubs again, which that's going to prove where this team is at because now they're looking for revenge from the Cubs. And the Cubs, uh, again, Imanaga, like you just said, Yamamoto, who everyone's giving
Right.
Yamamoto so much attention, and nobody's really talking about Imanaga having these shutdown innings, these shutdown pitching exhibitions, if you will. Like it's almost not fair.
What's interesting is I'm looking at Milwaukee's schedule, and in my opinion, they have one of these softer schedules. I mean,
Mhm.
they're in a game against Pittsburgh today. Tomorrow they start a series against Houston. So you got 3 games against Houston.
Right.
Then you got 3 games against Miami. Then you've got 3 games against Boston. So Boston can be hit or miss, right?
Mhm.
Then you go into a tough series because you got Chicago. You got 4 games against the Cubs. But then you go and you face the White Sox.
Yep.
Then you got a tough series against Philly. Then you've got Detroit, Toronto, Cincinnati, the Angels. 3 winnable series out of 4 there because I'll say Detroit give you a little bit of trouble,
Mhm.
right? Then you run into 3 straight series that could be a killer. I mean, a 5 series straight where 4 of those 5 series could be killers. 4 games set against San Diego, 3 games against Texas, 3 against Chicago, and then 3 against the Dodgers, with the only respite being a 4-game set against the Rockies in the middle of that.
Yeah.
So Milwaukee has the advantage of having somewhat of a marshmallow schedule. So the question is going to be if they can take advantage of that. One of the things I always learned, in any sport that I've ever played is it is vital that you beat the teams you're supposed to beat.
Yeah.
And that's what they're going to have to do. And talking about Shota Imanaga, 5-0, 0.96 ERA. I'll say that again. 0.96 ERA. He has only allowed 3 earned runs in 2, 4, 6, 8 starts this year. Okay. 2 earned runs in 8 starts. I'm sorry, 3 earned runs in a total of 8 starts. Okay. His team has only lost 1 game that he started, which was the opening game of the series. His opening game, not his opening game, his last game against Atlanta, which they lost 2-0. But he had 5 innings of 7-hit shutout ball with 8 strikeouts. Okay. Before that, he gave up 2 runs against San Diego, 1 run against Boston, 3 runs, but only 2 earned against Miami. He's given up a total of 5 runs on the year. Only 3 of them have been earned. And his team has won 7 of his 8 starts this year.
Yeah, I mean, what he's doing right now, it's pretty much amazing, and I think we're going to eventually come back to the whole, Yamamoto Iganama debate, and we're going to see who's been more expendable to their team. Um, but right now, what he's doing right now is it's like I said, it's not fair. It's not fair. This is somebody you don't want to see pitching, and he's barely giving up runs. And 5-0 at this point of the season is amazing. How many pitchers are still 5-0 or haven't even had a loss yet on the season?
Right.
Not many. It's not many. So the Cubs, I mean, again, another team that I'm going to have to start watching more of. Chicago. I have to see more Chicago games because now the question becomes, can Chicago end up winning this division? Can they end up pretty much having that magic that they had when they won the World Series, which seems like so many eons ago? But can they rekindle that flame? Are they going to be a team that is going to be a force for years to come, especially with trade deadline coming up now? Are they going to be a team that's going to become a buyer to basically get the Brewers out of that first place spot? Because I think, to me personally, I don't know what Chicago might need. Maybe there's somebody in the comments or somebody who's going to watch that can tell me what Chicago might need, that watches more Chicago games than I do. Forgive me, I'm not, local.
They need to get healthy.
But
half their team was a freaking injury.
Yeah, I think that's their main thing from the outside looking in. If they can get off of that IL, if they can get rid of the injury bug, I don't see the Brewers staying there for long. I really don't. I think that can change within the week.
I'm trying to look here at their depth chart right now. They've got a starter on the 15-day IL. They've got 4 relievers, 4 on the 15-day IL. Darby Swanson on the 10-day IL. And then they've got 2 guys out on day-to-day. So their pitching staff, like, literally, it's just like, what are we doing here? We're holding this pitching staff together with duct tape, glue, and the hope of every Chicago fan, over there. Let me just say this before we get ready to wrap up here. Give me a second. I'm really looking forward to next week. So starting on Monday, 4-game set against Seattle at the stadium.
Yeah, I am too.
We talked about Seattle having the best rotation in baseball right now. I said that earlier today. 4 games against the Yankees are really going to test you. And then we go on a little bit of a tease. We go on that West Coast swing, San Diego, the Angels, and San Francisco. We've got a 3-game weekend vacation against the White Sox this weekend. So, but the big series is looming. The big series is looming, and I can't tell you, I'm going to tell you right now, the month of June is going to be a death month.
Yeah.
For the New York Yankees. Starting on June the 4th, you have a 3-game set in the stadium against Minnesota. I know we just swept them, but still, 3 games against Minnesota at the stadium. 3 games, the Dodgers come to New York. Then the Yankees go 4 games in Kansas City, 3 games in Boston, come back to the stadium for a 3-game set with Baltimore and a 3-game set with Atlanta. From June the 4th until June the 23rd, it's in my opinion the make or break month for the New York Yankees.
Yep. So I'm gonna say this before I have to go. Unfortunately, I am at work. So I'm gonna
That's
say
how much
this.
we love baseball.
That's how much we love this, and we love getting the art out to you guys. This, I agree with you. Make or break. This will show us whether or not this is going to be a team worthy of the playoffs come June. Are they as legitimate as their record says they are? And not only that, we're still pending on the Garrett Cole. I know Garrett Cole's been throwing. He should be up and ready to go probably mid-June, early July, but we're definitely going to need him. As far as our hitting goes, our hitting has to stay consistent. Our relief pitching has been a big question. So this will really be make or break if this is a playoff team or not. But at least for me, I got to go. There's a plane coming in. I got to do what I got to do. So please, I'm going to leave you guys in good
And
hands.
We're gonna wrap it up with you off going up. For Grizz, I'm the voice of Generation Pete Rosado. Thanks to the Yerrr Sports Show and the Yerrr Sports Show platforms and all the great podcasts on our platforms and all of our great podcast friends. Check them all out. This is the Dog Days of Baseball podcast. We will see you in 2 weeks with episode 5. See you then.